The sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and purple. As dusk settled over the countryside, my friends and I started our walk home. It was just me, Mei, and Daichi, cutting through the forest trail behind our school like we always did. The air was cool and smelled of damp earth and pine. It was a path we knew by heart, every twist and turn familiar under our feet. But that evening, something was different. Halfway through the woods, Mei stopped. She's the quiet one, but she sees things the rest of us miss. She pointed ahead, her sketchbook clutched in her other hand. "Look," she whispered. Between the dense trunks of the trees, an unfamiliar light flickered, a faint silvery glimmer that didn't belong in the deepening shadows of the forest. It wasn't a campfire, and it wasn't a reflection. It was something else entirely. Daichi, never one to back down from a mystery, was already pushing ahead. "What is it? Let's check it out." He called back, his voice filled with excitement. I hesitated. "Daichi, wait up." "We don't know what that is," I warned, but he was already gone, swallowed by the underbrush. Mei and I exchanged a quick look, a shared moment of apprehension and curiosity, before we followed him off the familiar trail. We pushed through tangled branches and thick ferns, the strange light growing stronger with every step. The forest floor here was uneven, covered in a thick carpet of fallen leaves that muffled our footsteps. Finally, we broke through the last line of trees and stumbled into a small, hidden clearing we'd never seen before. And there, in the center of it, was the source of the light. It was a tall metallic structure, shaped like a narrow, vertical obelisk. It was half buried in the soil, as if it had pushed its way up from deep within the earth just recently. The surface was a dark matte metal, but faint lines of light pulsed along its edges, tracing intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change. The air around it felt strangely still and cold, a stark contrast to the mild evening breeze just moments before. Daichi was already circling it, his eyes wide with fascination. "Whoa, what is this thing?" he breathed, reaching a hand out as if to touch it. "Daichi, don't," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "We should keep our distance." "We have no idea what it is." A low humming sound started to emanate from the obelisk. A deep vibration that we could feel in our chests, more than hear with our ears. It was unsettling, a thrum of power that made the hair on my arm stand on end. Mei, ever the observer, had already opened her sketchbook. She stood a safe distance away, her pencil flying across the page as she tried to capture the shape and the strange glowing markings. She was trying to understand it, to decipher its design, while Daichi was ready to dive in headfirst. I stood between them, torn between caution and the same magnetic pull of curiosity that had drawn Daichi closer. The humming grew louder, the light from the obelisk pulsating in time with the sound. The patterns shifted faster, a mesmerizing dance of light and shadow. I could feel the ground beneath my feet begin to vibrate faintly. "Something's not right," I said, taking a step back. "We should go," but Daichi was captivated. He stepped even closer, his hand hovering just inches from one of the glowing lines. "Just one touch," he muttered, more to himself than to us. "I just want to see what happens." "Daichi, no." I shouted, lunging forward, but it was too late. The instant his fingertips brushed against the glowing surface, everything happened at once. The light didn't just flare. It exploded in a blinding white flash that forced us to shield our eyes. The low hum became a deafening roar, and the ground beneath the obelisk didn't just tremble, it bucked violently. Cracks shot out from the base of the structure, spreading across the clearing floor like a spider's web. They formed a perfect circle around the obelisk, a glowing, fractured ring. Mei, who had been sketching near the edge of the clearing, stumbled back, her eyes wide with terror. I looked at Daichi, who was frozen in place, his hand still outstretched, his face a mask of shock and awe. The ground directly under his feet was crumbling. "Daichi, move!" I screamed, but the soil gave way with a sickening lurch. The entire circle of earth around the obelisk dropped away. A sudden, horrifying collapse, like a massive trapdoor had been sprung beneath them. Daichi cried out as he lost his footing, his body pitching forward into the newly formed chasm. Without a second thought, I dove toward him. My fingers closed around his wrist, just as he was about to be swallowed by the darkness. The weight was immense, the shifting dirt and debris pulling us both down. For a terrifying second, I thought we were both lost. But then I felt a hand grab my arm. It was Mei. She had scrambled to the edge of the pit, her face pale but determined. But our combined weight was too much. The edge of the chasm crumbled further, and all three of us were dragged downwards into the abyss. We were falling. Time seemed to slow down. I could see the dark, metallic surface of the obelisk sliding past us as we fell. Then, with a sudden jarring halt, our descent stopped. We were suspended halfway down the pit. I looked up, and through the dust and falling dirt, I saw what had saved us. May's foot was wedged against a thick, gnarled tree root that jutted out from the side of the chasm. It was holding firm, bearing all of our weight. Her face was strained, her muscles trembling with the effort, but she held on. "Pull!" she grunted, her voice tight with exertion. She braced herself against the root and pulled with all her might. I found my footing on a ledge of rock, and together, we heaved Daichi upwards. He scrambled over the edge, coughing and covered in dirt. Then, with one final desperate effort, May and I clawed our way back onto solid ground. We collapsed in a heap, gasping for breath, our hearts pounding against our ribs. We were safe. We scrambled backwards, away from the edge of the pit, and watched in stunned silence. The metallic obelisk was sinking. Slowly, silently, it descended into the chasm it had created. The glowing lines on its surface grew dimmer and dimmer, the humming fading until the forest was quiet once more. I crawled to the edge and looked down. The pit was a deep black void. For a moment, I saw a final faint glimmer of light far below, a single spark in the suffocating darkness. And then it was gone. The forest was plunged into silence, and the screen turned to black. The only sound left was the frantic beat of my own heart. What had we found, and what had we just unleashed? I don't think we'll ever know. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more mysteries from the shadows.